channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you stay. I hope you find whatever you're looking for, or even something you may not have been looking for. Maybe what you receive is a bit of a surprise that, though not consciously intended by you in terms of receiving, may come in handy over the next little while. So I do hope you stay. I would love for you to click the notification button. It lets you know when I upload new content. And if you would like to subscribe, if you so wish, I would be very honored. It helps me with spreading this information. The more people this information can reach, the better off we are, I believe, as human species. So thank you for being here. If you're returning, you know how this goes. Thank you so much for being here. I am forever grateful. Without you, this channel would not exist, and this channel helps me to continually tune into higher frequencies. And when I do that, simply put, I feel at home. We all feel at home when we are in higher frequencies, because that is where essentially we all come from. It is our home, outside of our humanness and physical bodies. If you are new, or if you are a subscriber already and you haven't taken advantage of free transformational tools that I and my team have developed, channeled, in order to help you grow, help you evolve, help you become a more empowered version of yourself, there's a link down below. Click on it and take advantage of free, absolutely free transformational tools, which also includes a masterclass on how to connect with your guides and your inner guidance. I would love to hear your comments. From what I'm sensing and hearing and seeing, actually, from your comments, these tools are working very, very well. Last but not least, if you would like extra information from me, or extra guidance, or extra intuitive channeled information from source, myself, and my team, by subscribing to, or by getting these free tools, you will automatically be subscribed to get an email from me every Monday or beginning of the week with channeled information that is for you, not available anywhere else. So it is extra little something for you and my team to help you stay more grounded, stay more on your path. Not to stay on your path, because you are on your path. It's to help you stay more attuned as you are moving on your path. If you haven't gotten the free transformational tools, get them, link below, and you will automatically be subscribed to get those emails from me over the next little while. They're coming up in your inbox. And thank you so much for being part of Joanna team. Myself and my team, which includes Source itself, is very grateful for your genuine desire to embody a higher version of yourself, because that takes tremendous courage to actually allow yourself to be the higher version of who you are while occupying a physical body. Is a tremendous undertaking, and it is not taken lightly. Therefore, you being here, you are probably realizing this by now. And we are moving through some, may I say, treacherous waters, bumpy ride. We are on a bumpy ride right now. And I'm hoping that this information is intended to help you smooth out some of the bumps that you are experiencing on this journey. So the purpose of this particular transmission is to help you navigate through challenging times. And I'm sure you have them, you have had them, and you will continue to have them on some level as you are expressing more of your true nature on your path as a human being. And if you haven't already figure it out, quotation marks, you are on a path to higher awareness, to higher consciousness. What does it mean to have higher awareness? It simply means that with higher awareness, you are embodying more of your true nature, which is part of Source itself. Some call it God, some call it universal energy, some call it Buddha. You can, whatever name or term you want to use, that's perfectly fine, perfectly okay, as long as you don't limit yourself with whatever labels you slap on it. And we slap labels on everything. Labels are important in our human 3D life. They help us navigate through this thing called human existence, human journey. So labels are absolutely necessary, and in many cases they are absolutely beautiful or okay, and in some cases they are very limiting. It is really, the purpose of this channel is really to help shed some of those limitations. Because let's face it, the more we limit ourselves, and we generally do this without even knowing, the less likely we are going to be able to embody more of our potential. It's as simple as that. And my greatest job as Joanna is to help you do just that. It's to help you release yourself from inner prison, your inner prison, and release myself from my own inner prison. And in fact, the way I help you to release yourself from your own inner prison is by going through my process of releasing myself from my own inner prison. And we are all, every single one of us, to one degree or another, are in our own limited inner prisons. And prison is a funny thing. Well, nothing funny about it, but quotation marks. Prisons limit freedom, yet they become strangely comfortable and even safe. In other words, limiting ourselves or being limited becomes strangely familiar, and therefore becomes our norm. So when the time comes to let go of these limitations, it's simply letting go of our norm. And norm is something that we depend on. It's something that gives us stability. So in order for you and I and every other person to reach more of their higher potential, one has to be willing on some level to let go of a certain comfort level, a certain status quo, a certain level of safety. And they're asking me to say what I mean by that. It is not implied that you are being asked to let go of safety. You need safety. Safety is how you thrive, not just survive, it's how you thrive. What we are being asked to let go of is our current version of our perceived safety. Our current version of our perceived safety, which means letting go of that version in order to experience another version, another higher vibrating version of safety. And when we go between those two versions, if you will, which is what we are going through right now collectively, we are literally shifting our own inner frequencies, and by that helping to shift frequency of Mother Earth. Though my understanding is that Mother Earth is also shifting frequency, so she's shifting, we are shifting, it's a collective effort. And I hear nothing happens single-handedly. It is usually an effort. So if you are listening to this, you are a part of this collective effort to raise collective human consciousness. That's you. You have signed up for this. Yes, I know. You're asking, why would I do that? Well, the reason why you chose to do that, and I clearly chose to do that, is because at the time of the choosing, I was and you were practicing a higher level of understanding. And from that higher level of understanding, or that higher perspective, you knew that you were going to be absolutely fine. Now, being in a human body, going through these experiences, you might be thinking to yourself, my God, I must have been crazy. Well, depends how you look at it. Your soul is full of ideas, and they may not necessarily correspond to the ideas that you create with your own human head. And that's because your soul is a higher vibrating spark of light that knows no limitation. It knows that you exist, always existed, always will exist forever after, and nothing really can happen to you. But your lower mind, the one you experience in your human body, doesn't necessarily have that understanding. It doesn't have the comfort of embodying that awareness. You may have knowledge about it, but you're not embodying it. And that's what it means to be in a human form. Your existence is very much driven by a lot of the lower mind, or human awareness, human mind. And in many instances, a lot less driven by your higher mind, although this is exactly what's changing. We are in the process of shifting from operating from the lower mind, or strictly from the lower mind, or more so from the lower mind. We are shifting to operating from our higher mind, collectively speaking. Now, whether you agree with it, don't agree with it, believe it or don't believe it, everyone is going through this experience in their own unique way, although it may seem to you and I that some people are not going through it at all. They're just happy doing their own little thing, being in their own little world, and not really wanting to have any other understanding. But they too will get there eventually. And what I'm hearing is your job is not to make them see things a certain way. Your job is to focus on you. And that may be difficult for some people. It may be difficult for some people to, one, focus on themselves. And what I'm getting is the word selfishness comes up. So some of you may be feeling that if you focus on yourself, you will be labeled selfish. You will feel like you're being selfish. And it's just not a thing to do. You should not be focusing on yourself. But think about it for a second. If you don't focus on yourself, then what are you focusing on? If it's not you, then it's got to be something else, because you're always focusing on something, right? If you're not focusing on yourself, you're focusing on generally the outside. And if your focus is predominantly on the outside or other people, how do you live your life? Since life flows through you, wouldn't it make sense for you to focus on yourself first? And for many of us, that's a switch, complete shift of awareness, where we are being guided to focus from within more so than from without. And if you listen to any kind of channels like this, you already have a pretty good idea that the manifestation process happens as a result of who we are and who we are becoming. In other words, what truth we hold within, what truths we hold within, deeply held within, is generally what will manifest in our 3D experience. So generally speaking, our 3D experience is literally a manifestation of what is happening in our inner world. And in order to navigate through that inner world, you have to focus on yourself. You can't be focusing on the outside. Then you're not navigating your inner world. You're trying to navigate the external world, which is the manifestation of your inner world. It's a total switch. Now, I am not talking about being selfish, where you disregard everything and everyone else around you and you make it all about you. That is not what I'm talking about. That is not what Spirit is talking about. That level of selfishness comes purely from fear, from the belief of lack of inner abundance. At least that is what I'm being asked to say, and I believe what they say. Makes sense to me. So I'm not talking about selfishness, or there is a term that has been thrown around for quite a while now. It's a bit of a fad. What is the term, please? Narcissism. I'm not talking about that. That sort of selfishness comes from an overinflated ego. And anything that is over is coming from a space of needing to overcompensate for something that is lacking. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking from a healthy perspective of needing to look and take care of ourselves, our emotional needs, our bodies, our mind, our souls, in order not just to survive, but to thrive. And if we are only living from a survivor space or survival space, we are always living in fear. And collectively speaking, as you might have guessed already, there has been a bump in the fear level. When I say fear in quotation marks, I'm not dismissing that there is fear. It is absolutely 100%, without a doubt, a lot of focus on fear lately for various reasons. We don't need to get into the details as to what that is. Everybody will have their own assumptions and their own ideas of what that is, so I will leave that up to you. But always remember, what is within tends to be without. So if there's a lot of fear on the outside, and outside is the representation of the inside, then what that really means is that the fears that we are experiencing is really an inside job. It's something each and every individual has to look at within him or herself. Fear serves a purpose. It is an essential tool for our survival, our human survival. It is needed and required in order to survive. There's nothing wrong with that. A healthy dose of fear helps us stay alive. Let's respect that. However, and I didn't know I was going to go into this, but apparently I am. Fear can also be used to control and manipulate. I don't think that's a new concept. It's something that has been known for probably as long as humans have been alive. It is a tool, as they say. And probably right now, what's happening with you individually, regardless whether you feel you are being manipulated or not, the world is shifting around you. Pieces are moving. There's a lot of movement happening, and you are part of the collective, so the collective does affect you. But it's likely bringing up a lot of your own inner fears. And this is what is happening collectively according to my source. Collectively speaking, as human species, we are generating enough courage in order to lift off or rise higher or vibrate higher as a collective consciousness. And in order to do that, we have to move through our own fears. And chances are your own fears are being amplified right now. No question about it, for whatever reason. And when that happens, our ego gets very uncomfortable. Well, the ego gets scared because it kicks into the survivor mode, survival mode. Which is perfectly fine when it happens on little pieces, spaces here and there. However, it does a lot of damage when we are in fear for prolonged periods of time. It simply wears us down. It wears us down emotionally, mentally, physically. Fear is a stressor. And some stressor is good. We need certain stressors in life in order to function. Stress in and of itself is not a bad thing. There's a saying, there's such a thing as good stress, and I believe that. And I'm getting a yes. But what I'm talking about is an overabundance of stress, where this overabundance of stress kicks us into fear mode. And then we end up living in fear mode a lot of the time. What happens when we are in fear mode, we are often not able to think clearly. We're not able to see clearly because we are concerned with survival. Okay, that's a good thing. So you are probably, I'm willing to bet, because I know I am, having your own triggers kicked up a notch, your own fear triggers kicked up a notch. You might be in a survivor mode right now. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. Only when it is for prolonged periods of time, it wears us down. Okay? Emotionally, spiritually, physically. health-wise. Okay? Every one of you listening to this, however we have appeared in front of your eyes or in front of your ears, is on a spiritual quest, whether you know it or not. Whether you agree with it or not. Chances are you do agree if you've lasted this long. I just look, it was 25. Somehow the number 25 or 50 may be an important number to you, or some kind of an important symbol, 25 or 50. Okay? So each and every one of you is on a spiritual quest. Each person and their own spiritual quest is a very individual journey. No two journeys are the same. And that's because no two people are the same, no two paths are the same in terms of spiritual path. And everyone's understanding of themselves and life itself is unique. I would bet there is very few, if any, people that, if you were to compare them on every level, that their own understandings of life, spirituality, themselves, the world, would be an exact match. And what I'm hearing is, it cannot happen because we are all unique. So this spiritual quest that you are on right now is divinely guided. Make no mistake, you are being divinely guided. However this information is appearing to you, it is divinely guided. You've asked for it. You've been wondering about something, or there's just maybe something here that you need to fear, or not fear, hear. Fear, no. My job is to not elicit fear. My job is to help you release fear. At least that is what I have been told a while back, and it makes perfect sense. So here's what might be happening right now. And by the way, if you are looking for pick a card, that video is going to follow in the next couple of days. I decided to separate them. And the pick a card is going to give you a little bit more spiritual guidance that's a little bit more precise, that may speak to you a little bit more intimately. Okay, so that's going to follow in the next couple of days. So here's what might be happening right now. In fact, it's not what might be happening, it's what is happening. It's just whether you are aware of it, conscious of it or not. You are in a space of new beginnings. I'm being asked to define what that means. Essentially, what it means is that you are in the process of experiencing life and how you live and the way you live from a very different perspective, frequency-wise. What does that mean? Well, when your frequency is higher, you experience life from a higher perspective. On the other hand, when your frequency is lower, you experience life from this lower perspective. And one of the things that weighs down our frequency by far is fear. Now, it doesn't mean that fear is bad. We've talked about it. Fear is an essential tool for survival. And when a tiger is chasing you, you bet your booty you want to be scared and run. Because regardless of how much spiritual perspective you have, from your spirit's perspective, your spirit is like, oh, no worry, if the tiger eats you, that's okay, we'll just go again and do another round. So you need your wits about you that are of the human nature in order to run, so that you don't lose your life too prematurely, may we say, according to what your spirit wants to experience in this physical body. So fear is absolutely necessary. However, collectively speaking, we seem to be living, or conditioned, we seem to be conditioned in fear. A lot of the time. And I would even say, I would go as far as saying, without actually even knowing it, it's deeply conditioned. What does that mean then? Well, it simply means that when we are conditioned and live from the perspective of lower frequency or fear, I'm not talking about the chasing tiger, I'm talking about that aside. When we live life from conditioned fear or embedded fear that is in our conditioning, simply put, we hold ourselves back. We hold ourselves back from experiences that we potentially could experience if we didn't have this embedded fear. One of the things that's coming up is, what if there's not enough? Scarcity. Lack mentality. Fear of something going wrong. I mean, there is probably gazillion and a half fear-based beliefs that I could name, but I would have to be spending here probably a day or two, and you don't have time for that. You're probably pretty aware of those are for you. And collectively speaking, not enough food, fear of not enough water, fear of what if I don't make it in whatever capacity. Let's face it, there's a lot of fears that that is embedded in us, okay? Collectively speaking. Now again, at the end of the day, fear is always for the purpose of survival. But too much fear prevents us from thriving. If a gazelle was in fear all the time, she wouldn't eat because she would be in freeze mode all the time. So she would die because she wouldn't be able to feed herself. That's the image I'm being shown. She wouldn't be able to look after herself, to do what is a natural thing for her to do, which is graze on vegetation. She would be running in fear mode all the time. And if she would be running all the time from fear of being chased, quite simply put, she would exhaust herself and she would fall down and run out of fuel. She would simply die. So obviously that is a metaphor. It's an exaggerated metaphor, but I believe it paints a picture, or at least this is what my team believes is a good analogy. Not to mention, it would leave her utterly exhausted. So you might be experiencing a lot of exhaustion right now. You might be experiencing putting a ton of effort into something just to be met with a little bit of a payback. And that's because we are used to doing things a certain way. And now we're moving to an expanded version of ourselves where things are done in a different way. And because we haven't been there before, we don't quite know what that is yet. And the only way to find out is to let go of the old way and try the new way. And that requires a leap of faith. There is a lot of leap of faithing going on right now. Myself included. And in order to have this huge, or experience this huge paradigm shift, leap of faith is a requirement, a necessity is from what I'm being shown, from what I'm being told. And what does it mean to take a leap of faith? Well, it simply means to trust. To trust something you cannot see, to trust something you cannot grasp, to trust something you cannot hold on to, you cannot, hence, leap of faith. But when there is a lot of fear happening, or when we are experiencing a lot of fear, not only having trust and taking a leap of faith is more difficult because we are in a survivor mode, that experience is more intense. Everything is amplified. So I am willing to bet that you are feeling a lot of amplified energies right now in terms of your own inner fears with regards to what is your purpose? Where are you going? What is it all going to look like? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to take care of myself? And I'm being shown an image of a person looking through a box and throwing a whole bunch of stuff in this box, and they're looking for something. What are they looking for? They're looking for. And finally, they throw out all these things from the box, and at the bottom of the box is a little crystal. And I'm saying to them, what does this crystal represent? And what I get is trust. What you're looking for is trust. But you're not going to find it on a shelf somewhere in a store. You're not going to find it online by clicking and purchasing using your PayPal. I'm not going to hand it to you because this thing called trust can only come from within. In fact, you have it already. You've been practicing trust in many different places. It's just that you haven't been in this place yet. In this new surroundings, energetically speaking, it's unfamiliar to you, and trusting in that proves to be rather challenging or difficult. Yet that is precisely what is required right now. And I am not just channeling this, I am speaking from my own experience. As I move through these pretty challenging energies, as certain aspects of my life are being removed, I'm finding myself, what's happening? Yet I know better. I know better. I've seen this before. I know how this works. I understand the dynamics of it. I get it. In order to experience a higher vibrating version of myself, I have to let go of what is, that was rooted in lower vibrations. And I, like you, am being asked or encouraged. Thank you. I just heard, we don't ask you, we encourage you. There's a difference. At least that is how my team communicates with me. They encourage. I always have the final say. I'm always the boss, if you will, of my decisions. And if I don't take their encouragement or their advice, they don't take it personally. Just, okay, let her do her thing. But I know better. I know better because I've been here before. Maybe not in exact same space, but I've gone through this exercise, if you will, of letting go of the old in order to experience something new. I've gone through it before, and so have you in many ways. But this is on a whole different level. One of the things that was shown to me to help us navigate through these energies is the idea of sound bath. And I thought, that's interesting. Sound is vibration. And they were showing me that it helps to smooth out the edges of our frequency right now, which may be feeling a bit rattled, a bit out of alignment, a bit out of center. So if you're looking for some healing ways to help you navigate through these murky waters, if you will, sound bath or music or certain sound frequencies will help you soften the edges of your experience right now. You might be hearing I'm listening to something from just Spotify. As a matter of fact, every time I channel, I have to have a certain music on that is soothing, that is calming, because it helps me calm my own energies and therefore connecting to higher frequencies. Every one of you, including myself, or myself included, is going through this experience in your own unique way. And as much as we want to compare ourselves to others, because let's face it, when we compare ourselves to others and it seems to match, then we kind of feel like we're not alone. And by the way, we are not alone in this. Every single one of you watching this is going through it. I'm going through it. And there's at least sometimes 11,000 people watching these videos. 11,000 people are going through it at least. And many more that are not watching this video. Hundreds of thousands, millions in fact, are going through this right now in their own unique way. Some are conscious of it, some are not. Some are trying to figure out this experience using mathematical equations or using their logical mind and force their way through it. And those like you and I, there's no comparison, by the way, but this is a different way of functioning, who understand the purpose of us being here in the world right now, the whole idea behind frequency, the notion of raising our conscious awareness, collectively speaking, and helping Gaia's consciousness to rise, to move to higher dimensions. we at least try to our best to align ourselves with these higher frequencies, with these energies. And what does it mean to align ourselves with it? It means to flow with it, not to force. Because when we try to force, there is generally a lot of resistance being experienced, and resistance doesn't feel good. You might be resisting this flow and trying to maneuver or force or manipulate your experience a certain way that you are used to, or you believe it should be this way or that way. And chances are, if you're trying to do that using purely your logic and the way you've always done things, you're going to find it challenging. It's not going to work. It's not going to work as intended. It's going to feel a lot of effort with minimal payoff. So you might as well just learn to go with the flow. Now, to go with the flow requires trust. And it's very difficult to go with the flow where your world, your own unique world, is shifting and changing, and for some of us it's being dismantled. How do you go with the flow where your entire world, as you know it, in whatever capacity, is shifting and changing? It's uncomfortable as hell. And I just heard, get comfortable with the discomfort. Ugh, that's a tall proposition. And it's not easy to do. I just heard the discomfort will eventually pass. The discomfort represents a newness you are not used to. It doesn't have to be bad. In fact, it isn't. But the changeover from your old and familiar to the new, the changeover is, generally speaking, 99.9% uncomfortable as hell. So if you are feeling uncomfortable right now and pieces of your life are falling away, and life feels like one big mismanagement of everything, it's because there are some higher forces at play. We humans have a tendency to cling onto things that we know because they're safe, they're familiar. The little prisons are safe. But that is not what you came here for. That is not why you borrowed this bodysuit and decided on your soul level, okay, I'm going to have this experience and I'm going to help raise collectively the consciousness of human species and to help Mother Gaia, Mother Earth. And you knew damn well it wasn't going to be comfortable. You knew it. But you've signed off on it anyway. And I am hearing the discomfort will pass. And it's not that you're going to get used to it. I mean, yes, there is some truth to that. You will eventually get used to this discomfort, but not because you will always be uncomfortable, because you are moving to a new environment, energetically speaking. You are becoming more of your essence. And in order for that to happen, in order for you to embody more of your true essence, which is a high frequency, you have to, on some level, let go of what you've been clinging to in terms of your human identity. You'll still have one, but it will be more evolved. It will be more aligned with your higher human nature, with your higher awareness. Make no mistakes, if you are listening to this and you've passed the mark of 50 minutes and 23 seconds, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You may not like it, in fact, you might hate it, you may go, oh, when is it going to end? You may be angry, you may be in a blaming mode, you may be feeling like a victim, you may be thrashing around like fish out of water, and it's like, when is this going to stop? I hear you. And I hear it's going to stop when you relax into it and let it go through you. Let the experience flow through you. Not an easy task. There are some people right now who have experienced unforgivable acts against them. I'm not going to tell them, hey, just relax and go through the experience. I'm not going to do that. But at the end of the day, what other option is there? And I don't want to get into that because that's a whole different subject. That kind of level of situation requires a completely different way of handling things. You're not going to tell a grieving mother who just lost a child, oh, just go with the flow. I would expect her to punch me in the freaking face. And I would hope she would do that, because that would be insensitive of me. Because that is not what she needs right now. What she needs is love and care, compassion, and whatever else she needs right now, because she is suffering something that is I think I don't need to say anymore. And I'm hoping you are not one of those mothers or fathers or sisters or brothers. And if you happen to be one, and it happened to you, there's really no words for me to say other than to send you absolute love through my heart to yours. Because I don't feel words would suffice. They may be helpful, but only to a degree. Not sure why I said what I said. Somebody needed to hear that. There's a lot going on right now. There always has been to a degree. I just, from what I'm feeling, it's more in our face. It's more in our face where we can't escape it, where it's less likely to hide from. So, wherever you are in your life right now, comfortable, uncomfortable, somewhere in between, you are on an adventure. Now, some people like the kind of adventures that makes their heart stop because they're so freaked out and they love it. Not my cup of tea. Nonetheless, it's an adventure to some people. It's what they choose. I hope you're not picking that unless it's what you like. I, for one, don't like roller coasters. They scare the shit out of me. when I was a young girl, around 5, my parents took me to a roller coaster in Europe. It was one of the biggest ones back then. And within 2 minutes, I turned white as a ghost. I think it profoundly affected me. And from that moment forward, I do not like roller coasters. Yet right now, life feels like one big roller coaster. Up and down. In fact, the way I feel about things, myself, my moods, are like a roller coaster, up and down. Daily, sometimes hourly. It's like, boy, these are intense energies. Wow. And I am learning just to navigate through them. It's not easy, I'm not gonna lie. Even with all the knowledge and access that I have to higher consciousness, when I'm in my down, I am in my ego. And when I'm purely in my ego, I'm in a survivor mode. And it's a lot harder for me to reach and grasp whatever is being given to me or suggested. It's almost like I feel disconnected. It's not that I'm disconnected. I feel disconnected because I am vibing low. So you're probably going through these ups and downs. That in itself is an adventure. And I just heard that too shall pass. So we are moving from being here, familiar, and familiar means so many things to so many people. What I mean by familiar is the way we understand ourselves and the way we understand the world, the nature of life. Okay? And we're moving here. We're going here. And the space in between, that's where we are right now. We're between spaces, as a metaphor. And we haven't been here before, not in this human not in this human body, not in this incarnation. We have not been here before. So we are leaving what is known and what is familiar for something that we are not familiar with yet. And we can't really stay here. I mean, we can try to force ourselves to stay, but not gonna happen. Because eventually this is meant to fall away. We are meant to be here as human species collectively. Now, a collective is made up of you and I and everyone on this planet. That's what collective means. So therefore, in order for us collectively to be here, most, I would say, people have to go from here to here. And from here to here is, simply put, a difference in your own vibration. And fear has a lot to do with it. Fear impacts how we vibrate. Again, fear is necessary. Important part of survival. However, if we live in fear all the time, and it's so deeply conditioned, that overall reduces our level of vibration. And as we move from here to here, we have an opportunity through this space in between to face our fears. And then here's the word again, trust. Oh boy, is it ever difficult to trust when you are faced with your fears? That is the opposite of literally what we tend to do. We tend to try and grasp onto the familiar, grab onto something because it represents safety. And the universe is like, nope. Remember, the type of safety you're trying to grasp on is based in the old vibration. We're trying to help you to get to a new level of safety, something you haven't experienced yet. In order for you to get to, you have to let go of this. And you have to trust the process. I'm being asked to share with you a vision I had yesterday. I was in a meditation. And it was, simply put, an awareness of my lack consciousness. And I saw the higher version of me almost like welcoming me, saying, hey, how are you? Glad you're here. And I was like, okay. And this higher version of me was in charge. And there was nothing but abundance. And I thought to myself, lack is not part of her experience. I was like, nope, lack is not part of my experience. And I realized it was so unfamiliar to me, because lack has always been part of my experience. It has been the biggest part of my experience. It's where I come from. The biggest lack was within myself. And something amazing occurred. I sat next to her and she was just so sure of herself, but there was no ego. She was just big, energetically big, abundant, but she was not attached to it. It was just always there. She had no lack thoughts. She had no, oh, what if she, it wasn't a part of her. And I sat next to her and it felt kind of weird. And in that moment I realized, oh my Lord, that is so not something that I am familiar with. That's right. You too. And in that moment, I became so aware that my lack that I'm experiencing right now is essentially the product of my mindset. It's one I'm familiar with. It's one I'm used to. It's one I was born into. It's one that was inherently, what's the word, please? Put on me, taught to me, whatever words you want to use. And when I sat next to her and I realized this chick, she knows no lack, L-A-C-K. Like, it's not in her consciousness. And I tried to kind of, not using words, intuitively talk to her and saying, well, what if you, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. That lack doesn't exist. It's not part of my experience. And I went ding, 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 ding. That has to be my mindset. It occurred to me in that moment that not only does this have to be my mindset, when I say have to, nobody's forcing me to, I want to. Not only is it something I have to embody more of, it was bloody unfamiliar. It was so unfamiliar. And as a matter of fact, for a moment, I wanted to jump off from where I was with her and go to my own thing, which was all about the lack thing. And then I realized I can choose to do that. I can choose to go to the familiar lack. And it was so easy to just go back. And I thought, oh man, oh wow, I have a problem. My problem is I need to find a way to get used to this idea, this awareness, this embodiment of that lack is not part of my experience. It can be if I choose to, yes, and it all depends on my mindset. But my higher version, lack is not part of her experience. And she said to me, you can experience lack for a moment, but you can go right back to plenty. You don't stay there. And I thought, okay, well, that makes sense to me, because life throws different things at you. If you only experience abundance, chances are you wouldn't have much appreciation for it. So there might be some things thrown here and there a little bit in order to help you appreciate the idea of abundance. And usually when we appreciate it, oftentimes is when we don't have it, or somehow it's limited for a moment. And I have this vision emblazed upon me, on my mind, since yesterday. And it's this feeling, it's beyond feeling, it's more of an embodiment. And I actually wrote, lack is not part of my experience, abundance is. So, why am I sharing this with you? If you are experiencing lack on any level right now, and I'm sure you are, financially, physically, emotionally, health-wise, spiritually, whatever it may be, realize that the higher version of you, the one you are wanting to embody more of, knows no lack. And that version of you exists. It's your higher self. You want to adopt more of her ways or his ways. And at the same time, realize just how much, perhaps, lack identity you identify with, which would be very normal because it's based on fear. So here's what I'm saying. They're saying to me that we're entering a portal, some sort of a portal right now. And I'm asking, what's the portal? And they're saying it's a frequency upgrade. Through entering this portal, we are being significantly impacted by higher frequencies. And these higher frequencies are extraordinarily potent in terms of manifestation. In other words, depending on where your mind goes and stays for a prolonged period of time, you are, without a doubt and question, going to manifest that. You're going to manifest the 3D version of that. Now, chances are, you're probably in fear right now, right? If you stay there, if you bathe in that energy, if you keep affirming, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it, you are, in essence, manifesting more of that. It's not that you can't manifest the opposite. In fact, your potential is amplified right now, but it's because you are in your ego and your ego is scared right now. It's in survival mode. And when it's in survival mode, it tends to look at what it doesn't have, okay, to minimize the discomfort. And this is what I'm hearing. We implore you. That's an interesting word. Okay. We implore you to look at yourself for more than just your current experience, which is very short-lived in scheme of things. We encourage you to look at the you that is beyond your current experience, the you that is so much more than what you are experiencing right now, because that you knows no lack. It can experience lack if it wants to, but it doesn't have to stay there. It doesn't need to stay there. Once you understand lack, what's the point of staying there? There's no need. You already have the experience. be very mindful where your mind goes. And that is not an easy task when we are experiencing inner conflict, when we are experiencing pain on any level, when our world is being reshuffled around and restructured. That is not easy. You may not be optimistic right now. You might be very pessimistic. You may be angry. That's all energies. It's all energy. You are just bathing in that energy. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment whatsoever. None. But that frequency is a manifesting tool. And the longer you stay in it, the more you are using that frequency to create the corresponding 3D version of that experience. And I know for one that if you're experiencing a lot of lower vibrating frequencies, you don't want more of that. You want the opposite of that. If it's raining, you want sun. Rain is okay once in a while. In fact, rain is necessary. But you want sun, right? As a metaphor. So for the final words, here's the message. Have yourself sunny thoughts and positive outcomes with respect to where you are and where you are going. Even though what may be transpiring in your now moment may not be the thing that you like or the experience that you like. Know that this experience is temporary and you have a lot to do with it. You may not be responsible for the entire experience that you are having, but you have a lot to do with it. And just by shifting your thoughts about it, you will shift your own frequency and your own vibration, which will help you limit how long you stay in this discomfort. It will help you feel this discomfort or pain less or for less prolonged time. If you're going through it, it means your soul is needing this for whatever experience it requires in order to grow. Okay? But now that you're in it already, there's no need to keep prolonging it. And oftentimes we prolong it is because we're stuck in it. We're stuck in that vibration. We're stuck in the, oh my God, what's happening? We're in it and it's hard to get out of it. So use sound bath, essential oils, massage therapy if that's what you're inclined to. Perhaps confirmations like this, channel information that is intended to help you understand that you haven't done anything wrong. You haven't veered off. It isn't karma getting to you. You are not paying a price for having done something terrible in your past life. That's all human things we say to ourselves to reason, to help us understand what's happening better. You're going through this because you're going through a process of ascension. And everything you're experiencing tends to be magnified right now. The joys and the fears and everything in between. So the magnification of what you're feeling right now is part of this experience. If you are feeling magnified, your fears being magnified, your joys can also be magnified. But you cannot find joy when you are amidst fear. And I'm not saying that is easy to let go of. I'm not saying that. Nor am I saying that you should deny it. For that is equally not healthy. Because denying it doesn't make it go away. It just festers until it blows up. Find a way to manage your fears. Talk to somebody. Speak to a trusted friend. Allow yourself to move your emotions. It's energy after all, it's frequency. Allow this emotion, this frequency to move out of your body. Don't keep it in. It's not good for you, it's not healthy for you. It really, if you keep it in, there's no need for it. There's no need for it. You are not being weak by needing to cry. Perhaps you need to cry. Perhaps you need to shed some tears and release some of that energy that way. Tears are cleansing, as we know. But do yourself a favor. Don't hold yourself back. Don't you hold yourself back. By believing that there isn't something more, even though you can't see it. Our tendency is always to think of probabilities that have their basis in the past, because that's our reference point, right? So perhaps a lot of your fears are being referenced right now to your past. Something happened here or there, or somebody said this would happen or that would happen. You're trying to prevent that from happening. Remember, we are in the process of leaving the old behind. And there's very little that you can do about it other than to accept it. That's just the truth of it. That's the nature of it. And as much as you may hate me saying this, this is what you've signed up for. This is what I've signed up for. When you are signing up for it, you are not thinking with your human mind. You are not enveloped by your human emotions that are very oftentimes fear-based. You didn't have that. You are fully aware and potent. So just remember that. You're not alone in this. We're here to help you. Even though it may not seem like it, even though it may not be the way you want the universe to help you, but the universe knows what you need most that is going to be helpful with regards to your higher path, your higher calling, your whatever is in alignment with your higher version. Okay? If you would like help with any of this, navigating through these waters, with one-on-one coaching or session, or helping you figure out what's going on in your life and how to navigate, you can have a session with me and my team. That link is down below. I hope this was helpful. The pick a card will follow in the next few days. I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care of yourself. Happy navigating. Bye-bye.